Hi everyone, welcome back to the Stars Lads. Today we're going to discuss The Bad Batch Season 2, Episode 3, Predictions and Speculation. Again, Liam isn't here, but we'll be back to our regular format of having us both on the screen, talking to each other starting next week. Before we get any further ahead, I just want to remind y'all to make sure to like and comment on this video. That's what really helps us get into the YouTube algorithm and share our views on Star Wars and our breakdowns with fans like you and fans who haven't seen us before. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to our channel as well. You'll be able to be notified about any time new drops are coming out, be able to engage with us on our community polls, and so much more. If you're an audio podcast listener, rest assured you'll be able to listen to us on Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and most podcast platforms of your choice. We're on so many out there. If you haven't already, make sure to follow us on our socials. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and even occasionally Reddit. That's the best place to find out anytime we've dropped a new video and podcast, and a great way to engage with us for community discussions and whatnot that we feature on our channel and on our socials. Okay, let's get into the episode 3 predictions and speculation. I'm going to pass it over to Liam for his thoughts.
So my predictions and speculations for The Bad Batch Season 2, Episode 3. This episode was pretty open-ended, so there's not too specific a direction we can go. We know they've heavily been marketing Gungi from the Padawan episodes with Ahsoka and the rest of those crew of younglings when they were going to get the lightsabers. I think we'll see Gungi next episode. I think it's going to be another kind of mission episode. Unfortunately, they teased moving off of their alliance with Sid and not having to do these mission of the week type things, but we all knew that was going to fail. So I'm sure Sid's going to send them on another mission, or they're going to hear about through Sid some type of Jedi survivor, and they're going to want to go help this kid. Especially Omega is going to be like, oh, we need to help him. He's a little kid, whatever. So we're going to help Gungi. I think that's going to be what happens next episode. I'd like to see more of Rampart, and I'd love to see where we are with Crosshair now. We haven't gotten any Crosshair yet from the show, so I felt like that was a surprising way to start the season with no Crosshair. So I'd like to see Rampart go to Crosshair and say, your squad's still alive. Question him, interrogate him, and maybe send him after the squad again in secret. We know that he doesn't want that out there, so hopefully that is kind of the crux of what brings Crosshair back into the show. But ultimately, I think that's where we're going with the next episode. I don't think it's going to be another big eventful one. I think we're sticking with the slower start for this season until the Bad Batch are brought back into light, and ultimately that kind of causes a big cascading effect where all the Empire's after them. Now we have them aligning with Rex. We've also seen Cody a lot in the trailers, so I'd love to see Cody next episode. But I think there's a lot of places we can go. These first two episodes were surprisingly smaller than I expected, so there's a lot still from the trailers I think we can pull from. So I'm going to pass it back over to Sanak for his thoughts.
Awesome. Thanks, Liam. Now, just to build off of a lot of what you said there, I do agree. I think the next episode we're going to see a lot of Crosshair. I believe the next episode is titled The Solitary Clone. So maybe it's a little too early for Gungi and more of the Jedi stuff, maybe some of the Palpatine stuff that's been hinted at in the trailer. I do agree we're going to definitely see these characters in the Bad Batch, the crew as it is now, kind of go around and continue with this lifestyle that they were promised could kind of end with the whole Serrano heist. Yeah, I assume a little bit of repetition. Like you said, I think it will also be a bit of a slower start to the season. But because we spent so much time with the Bad Batch and we barely even got any of the supporting POVs that we've gotten here and there in other episodes in season 1, I think this third episode might be very Crosshair focused. The only other character I think could fit into the solitary clone vibe and template would possibly be Hauser, but we just saw Captain Wilco just shot off a cliff in the last episode. So I'm not really sure that Hauser is someone that we're just going to see and really dedicate a whole episode to. I think it really has to be Crosshair. And yeah, I do wonder what his day-to-day activities are like. He was basically left for dead on Topeka City, on Camino in the season 1 finale. The bombardment came. He didn't get any heads up. He was just disposable for Rampart and essentially the entire empire. And like a lot of people have been saying online, I think a pretty key point here is that the clones, the regs that we've been seeing so far have seemed to be shifted even more into like grunt work. Wilco, he's just a clone. He has maybe just a designation of a captain, and he wears that little bit of like black armor over his shoulder. But otherwise, he is just a clone stripped of any individuality. And the one thing that they have left is their programming, and his programming is not to disobey orders. It's why Order 66 went through. So I think Hauser's out of the picture, but Crosshair, he is a mutated clone. He is a special forces clone, but he's also one that was at the end of the day disposed, and yet he's back with the Empire, presumably. I know we talked way back then, maybe there could be something cool with him trying to build in like a Mandalorian heritage, find some meaning in his life. That could still be in play, but definitely not right away. So I could see him be isolated by the Imperials. He might not necessarily be doing the same grunt work, but maybe he's isolated from other clones because he's neither doing all the big stuff that the TK troopers and all these other human conscripts are doing, but he's also not doing just the laborious stuff. So he's kind of in the middle. They don't want to give him extra treatment, but his situation is that he does have some value. It's just he's going to be treated pretty poorly. And I think it's more of an episode that we're going to see just how he goes about his day, how he goes about his missions, how he just kind of dreads the life that has been shaped out of his brothers leaving and the Empire abandoning him, and then still kind of being caught in between. So I think that's what this next episode will be. And I think it'll be very pretty slow focused. It can still have some pretty cool action, but I don't think it'll be the basis of the episodes like these first two where we still have these lessons kind of imparted to Omega. Echo is working on his being like the conscious of a clone trooper, being a true soldier, fighting for the right causes. Tech is getting a little bit more of a perspective and education outside of just the manuals and the data that he inputs constantly through his head. I think Crosshair now is just going to understand the repercussions, and I think that's why this third episode, regardless of whatever action we see, it's going to be pretty slow, pretty self-contained there. That doesn't mean that there won't be some pretty interesting things. I don't think we're going to go back to Mount Tantus right away, but I do expect to see some threads start to be built up, especially since this is overlapping with Mando Season 3, so maybe we get to hear a little bit about the secret projects going on. Maybe we get to see a Tarkin inquire about something that Rampart is aware of, but is kind of keeping off the sheet. He has already shown that he's going to change things to suit his vision of the Empire, his power. So maybe we see some threads there. Yeah, I mean, maybe we get to see some stuff with the Senate, some rapid changes to the clone troopers as a whole on other planets, on Coruscant, wherever it may be. But I don't think that would be a big scene, if anything. I don't know if this is really going to be a huge episode, to be honest. So I am kind of struggling to see what I can fit into here. But I think we're just going to see the basic threads. We still won't see the scope of the season quite yet. But maybe we'll start to see some of the things that Echo was really fighting for in his arguments versus Hunter, what they should be doing. And maybe we get to see Crosshair quite literally witness all that stuff happening. But he's not necessarily willing or able to do anything to support or go directly against other clone troopers. So it'll be a slower one. I would not be shocked if it's only like 18 to 20 minutes. Maybe the solitary clone is clone commander. Maybe it's Wolf, right? That could be a pretty interesting way to bring him into the story. He is one of the three major ones that we see in Rebels, and it would still allow the episode to be sort of one-off, and maybe Crosshair is involved with keeping him in isolation, and he fails to do so, further gets mucked down with his very poor position in the Empire because he fails to stop Rex or whoever comes to break out Wolf. I don't know. I just think this will be a lot more of the deliberate character work that we've seen, especially in these season premiere. Like I said in the review video for episodes 1 and 2, it feels like a lot of the storytelling here in the Bad Batch is mirroring kind of the very beginnings of the Andor arcs. So that's not a bad thing. I know for animation and especially geared towards kids, that might not be the funnest option, but I think we're gonna see a lot more payoffs too, especially since we do have some episodes in the middle that are gonna be coming out at the same time. So that seems like a big mini middle arc, mid-season arc, and then we have two finale episodes. So having another one-off, but that builds part of the next step of the world of the clone resistance or whatever, and still gives us a bit of perspective of the galaxy, like we saw with the separatist perspective on Sereno and its entire destruction, could still be a really interesting watch. Okay, so that's it for our The Bad Batch Season 2, Episode 3 predictions and speculation. Thanks again for watching. Make sure to tune in next week on Monday for our weekly special, which will be done by me, and that'll be on what would Revenge of the Sith look like as a Disney Plus series. So I'll be continuing that series, and it's going to be a pretty fun one because we have seen quite a few content creators and people in the fandom combine Siege of Mandalore, even 2003 Clone Wars, and all that stuff into it. So maybe I'll add some new things. Maybe it'll be a pretty easy video for me to put out there. Who knows? But do make sure to check that out when it comes out. We'll also have our The Bad Batch Season 2, Episode 3 review on Wednesday, followed by The Bad Batch Season 2, Episode 4 predictions and speculation on Friday. Again, make sure to like and comment on this video. It really does help us get into the YouTube algorithm and connect with Star Wars fans like yourself. And if you haven't already, also make sure to follow us on our socials. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and even Reddit at some points. Again, thanks so much for watching. We'll see you guys on Monday.